On electoral matters, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room has criticized the Senate over its passage of what it described as a retrogressive version of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, faulting the removal of mandatory electronic transmission of results and the reduction of the election notice period. The Senate on Wednesday passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, ruling out real-time transmission of election results and retaining the provision for electronic transfer of results as provided for in the 2002 Electoral Act. The Senate also reduced the timeline for the Independent National Electoral Commission to publish a notice of election from 360 days to 180 days. However, the Situation Room, in a statement issued on Friday by its convener, Yunusa Ya'u, and co-conveners, expressed disappointment that the Senate deleted provisions requiring real-time electronic transmission of results from polling units to the INEC result viewing portal, making the process discretionary. Achike Chude is a political analyst and election observer. He joins me now as a member of the Civil Society Situation Room for this conversation. Thank you for obliging us tonight. I mean, you've had a meeting. Could you give us ballpark the core comments and decisions that were made from that meeting?
Yeah, well, everybody was angry. Let me just say that is the prevailing mood. Among civil society members, not just Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, but all over the country, and even the ordinary citizens are very, very upset. And there's a general belief and consensus that this act by the Senate is not representative of the position and the views of the Nigerian people. Don't forget that the Constitutional Review Committee of the National Assembly had gone to the various geopolitical zones in the country, and one of the major talking points was the issue of the Electoral Act. And again, of course, there are different aspects to the Electoral Act in terms of what the people wanted, but of prime importance was the issue of mandatory, obligatory electronic transfer of results real time from the polling units. And, so for the Senate to have done what they have done was clearly not a reflection of the position of the Nigerian people. And so they have not, in doing that, what they have done, they have not acted as true representatives of the Nigerian people. And so that's what the meeting was all about, to review what has happened and then to also plan a course of action that should be taken to get the Senate to resign this decision and then to get them to do what a more representative arm of the National Assembly has done, which is the House of Representatives that went ahead and then endorsed electronic voting.
I'm sure there's a lot of skepticism as to the possibility of the Senate revisiting this matter, considering the presser that was done the other day by some senators trying to clarify what seemed to be known. What is your thinking on that? Because they were talking, I think if I remember correctly, the presser was about electronic transmission, that the Senate was not against it. But at the heart of it is the discretionary power given to INEC. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
No, you see, the issue, the whole thing about discretionary powers given to INEC just tells you that there is nothing different from what happened in the Act, in the 2022 Electoral Act, because that is what created a lot of problems. And it is one of the things that was supposed to have been repealed, amended, and so that we could have obligatory or mandatory electronic, transmission of results from the polling booths. And so any other thing is at variance. Of course, you can see that some senators have come out boldly to say that what was actually passed was electronic transmission of results, and not what the Senate President and his team are telling citizens. Obviously, they are trying to work back on it because they have seen the barrage of pressure from Nigerians across board. So it is very, very clear from what other senators are saying that the wool cannot be put over their eyes, that what they passed, what they understood to be passed. In fact, Abaribe did say that even from the words of the Senate president, that he understood what the Senate president to have said is that, the electronic transmission of results.
Talking of understanding, Achike, there are arguments for and against the Senate's action in terms of electronic transmission, considering the penetration of internet access, technology, and all of that. These were some of the concerns that were put on the table. I want you to speak to that, and also, as quickly as you can, paint us a picture, the most clear of the implication of this removal of mandatory electronic transmission.
Yeah, well, I think when you try to give the impression from what you're saying that the arguments are both ways, that's not true. I believe about 85% to 90% of the positions being taken as in favor of electronic transfer of votes. So you just have very, very few voices that are speaking, against it. And so when people say, well, the network cannot penetrate some parts of this country and all that, then why was the beavers? What was the essence of the beavers? Because the beavers was used, to conduct elections even in remote parts of this country. So, and the beavers was also dependent on the network stability and availability. So if beavers could be used in that same manner, using the same network, so why would anybody talk about, saying that the electronic transfer of results will not work when beavers has worked in most parts of the country? So if you're going to have issue of network, it's just going to be in very negligible places in parts of the country. That's what this is all about. And then again, with regards to the implication of not passing this electronic, transmission of votes, I believe that at the end of the day, this position is going to be reversed, because the fury of Nigerians really is on full display, and I don't think that Nigerians are going to back away from this. Like Nigerians usually do, because they feel so.
That would be great to see if it can really happen in quick time before the elections in 2025. But quickly, in a minute, if you can, I want you to talk to us. How does the reduction of the election notice period from 360 to 180 days affect the ability of political parties and candidates to better prepare for elections? Because that seems to be an issue.
It's not just the ability of political parties and candidates, and of course that is very, very clear. But some people are saying that there's something more insidious about the whole thing, because they've been muting the possibility of the election happening in November this year. Of course, one other thing you're also going to have is a major logistic problem from INEC. INEC needs more time to be able to prepare adequately for this. And so when you now reduce all of these things, you're making things practically difficult, if not impossible, for INEC to be able to meet up with their various deadlines and timelines. And so that, again, is not the best under any circumstance. I think that the date of February 21 or 22nd or so for the beginning of the elections should be left sacrosanct, so that INEC will have enough time to be able to prepare adequately. Otherwise, you are going to have an election that will be marred with all manners of logistical problems.
All right. Achike, as always, thank you very much for speaking with us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you too.